During lockdown, they've also spent most of 2020 feeling anxious, stressed, adjusting. They've been waiting such a long time to get their results. So our teenagers are really just building up. And with all this pressure, the whole country's eyes are on them. The matric results are coming out. How did they perform? And we forget that they've been doing this in a pandemic, never before done. So I really do feel for them. It's really anxiety ridden. There's a lot of stress, uncertainty. So it's really difficult to be a matric student today, waiting for the results to come out tomorrow.
Yeah, and I mean, the rest of us are struggling with anxiety due to the pandemic as it is. That's without writing a matric exam, with so much riding on it.
Absolutely. Matric is really hard as it is. And now to have to adjust really quickly, as our matrics did last year, with having to do online learning, disrupted learning, then they're back, then they're not, trying to study in a global pandemic and do really well. And I think these are one of the things that we're really just trying to highlight, is that, yes, it's matric results are coming out, and, they do mean a lot for what you're wanting to do for the rest of your life. However, I think just to be kind and gentle to the matric, because no one else has had to written, final exams that mean so much. And I think it's also just been a really long time that they've been felt anxious or stressed. So I think for a lot of parents, family, community members, friends, just to be a bit more gentle, and more specifically to the matric. They put a lot of pressure on themselves to perform, to do well. And I think it's just to be gentle and not to forget that there are options. So whatever the results may be tomorrow, whatever the outcome is, perhaps you're disappointed, maybe you didn't get the results you wanted, maybe you failed. Remember, there are so many options. So this is just one stepping stone to the next step or part of your journey.
And the thing about it is, Casey, is that, as parents and caregivers, we do build up the meaning of your matric year throughout your schooling career. And so it's always built up to be this major event in your life. How do we balance, as parents and caregivers, balance the need for them, yes, to work hard and to put in the hard work, but also to realize that no matter the outcome, it is not the end of the road?
And exactly that. There is a lot of pressure. They've been working so hard their whole schooling year. And as mentioned earlier, the whole country is looking at our matrics right now. But now it's more important than ever for parents to really just check in and reassure your child that whatever happens, it's going to be okay. And having that conversation now before the results come out is really important, to offer that support and ask questions. What are they most stressed about? Which exam or which subject were they thinking that they were going to get the worst results for? And discuss different options. That just helps your teenager going into the results feeling just so much more supported. And I think for parents, we also have to look at the balance. Your child's well-being, their happiness is way more important than a mark on a piece of paper.
Absolutely. So, if we're getting it right on the side of parents and caregivers, we're motivating them, we're letting them know that no matter the outcome, everything will be okay. What about the pressure that matrics themselves, that they put on themselves, that their friendship circles perhaps have as well? I don't want to be embarrassed by the results that I get, or if I do indeed fail.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people on the day of the results coming out, everyone wants to check in and everyone asks, what did you get? What were your marks? And instead of using those things, we should say, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And so I think it's just redirecting what we're actually focused on. It's not so much about the marks. So I think it's also having a conversation with your child. How do they want to share it? What do they feel comfortable with? And I think it's also just remembering that it's not about the figures. And I think, again, it's having to connect, chat to your child. What are they comfortable with doing? And I think it can alleviate a lot of the anxiety and stress. You might even have, want to set aside some time tomorrow where you don't communicate with other people and you just process and deal with it. Everything is so instant and having to share. And that in itself can be a lot of pressure, especially if you don't get the results you were expecting. I think also with so many different platforms where you can get SMSs and check at school and online, make sure you verify. Go to the school, make sure you check online and SMS, make sure you get all the results to really get a good picture of what your outcome is.
So Casey, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group saying that it's received an influx now of texts and calls already leading up to the release of the results. Can you give us a sense of the kinds of fears, the kinds of things that matric pupils are texting your number?
So it's very normal during this time for us to get more calls from matrics awaiting their results, too afraid. What if they fail? What are their parents going to say? What are their friends going to say? What kind of future are they going to have? There's so many different thought processes that go through. So it's very normal for us to get an increased number of calls over this time, and especially in the next weeks to come. Also parents not sure, is it normal? My child thinks that they've failed. How do I help them? How do I support them? So that's really great that parents are reaching out. And I think we also anticipate, knowing that 2020 was so difficult and having to navigate a pandemic, and everything else still in 2021 is still delayed and disrupted. There's still so much uncertainty and fear of what happens. Will I still be able to do supplementaries? Will I be able to do my bridging courses? What options do I have? And that's why we always tell our callers, when we give them different resources and we explain which sites to go to and have a look at, it's being equipped. And I think that's what parents can also do today, is go and have a look at what options are available. There's lots of information. So coming tomorrow, you already are equipped with an action plan. And I think that makes a huge difference too.
Yeah, absolutely. Perhaps just as a final question, Casey, the people who are manning your phone lines and who are answering those texts and messages, they're also equipped, I take it, to give real advice in terms of what options are available to pupils, whether it's rewriting your exam, whether it's doing bridging courses.
Absolutely. We've shared lots of resources with our volunteer counselors and having resources nationwide. And I think it's about putting together an action plan and a support system for a lot of teenagers. The ones that also often phone us don't feel like they have a support system, that they're too scared to speak to parents or a friend or a family member. So we help in building that support system for them and really just offering them advice where they don't have to feel like they're being judged or criticized. So yes, our counselors are equipped. We do have resources and we track them very closely. And I think, again, it's just about sharing information so that our teenagers and parents feel equipped.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for the incredible work that you and the team there do. Casey Chambers is with the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. They're receiving an influx of calls and texts about advice from not only matric pupils, but their parents as well.